Good.
Yep.
We'll call to order our first meeting of the Harbor Commission, January 21st, 2025. Welcome our newest member, Mike Lance.
Thank you, sir.
And we'll need an approval for the agenda as presented here.
I'll make a motion, we approve the agenda for Tuesday, January 21st as presented.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
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 Carried.
Public comments? We see no one. Next, we'll have an election of our officers for 2025, chair and vice chair.
Who is currently the vice chair?
It was Mary Lou.
So as required by the bylaws, the election of officers shall occur at the first meeting of each calendar year, and an officer shall take office upon selection and should hold office for the term of 1 year. So we just need a nomination for the position of chair.
Now, the only thing is we're missing 1, 2, 3 members. Does it matter?
That's a perfect time to railroad somebody. That's how we used to do in GCs back in the day. Well, I would make a nomination, George Becker for chair, if you're willing to accept that.
I can do it, I guess, this year, yes.
Second.
That was easy.
I'm sorry, who was seconded? Okay. Any further nominations?
For vice chair, I would nominate Wes Smith.
I would second that.
Take that, Wes.
Oh, sure, that's what happened.
All right. So for the first nomination, all in favor of George as
Aye.
chair?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And the second, Wes, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Easy. I will need an approval of our minutes from our last October 15th, 2024 meeting. Check those over quick. Think anything was really spectacularly different?
In here. You have them in your packet? I mean, I've reviewed them before.
I reviewed them, but
Okay.
I have them here now.
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes from the October 15th meeting.
I'll second that.
Everyone's in favor?
Aye.
We can go to unfinished business. My only question was just make sure we use DACWA to the fullest potential.
For those of us who don't know, what is DACWA?
It's a reservation advertising and marketing system we got into last season, the full season, and maybe a year.
Started using some of the information probably 3 years ago. Last year, we did a subscription to it. And it's used, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's used primarily in the southern part of the lake, but it's kind of gaining popularity along the lake. So we were trying to cross-pollinate, if you will.
Okay.
Our primary our reservation system is through the state of Michigan, and where it's an online system, people can go on, make reservations. They pay for it. The state then makes payments back to us. The one thing that we've tried to look for is using the DACWA reservation system and the state, but the two don't talk.
Of course.
So one of the concerns that, and Katie in the audience is our marina manager,
Okay.
and one of the things that her concern has been, if we have reservations in the DACWA system, we have to then check that frequently and then manually input that into the state system so we don't rent the same slip
Yeah.
twice.
Okay.
And that's, I think it's just too burdensome from a task standpoint, but I think there has been benefits using the system as we are. It did go up, you said $300 this year, so what's the total?
It's like 2,088.
2,088 for the year.
2028. It went from 1788 to 2028.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, based on my conversations with Katie, I think we're using it to the fullest, and hopefully someday there's a way that you can integrate that, but I think we're using it to the fullest. Do you have any other comments on that? No?
To Mike's question, it's basically, and it's also marketing and advertising. Think of an enthusiast with either any kind of group, motorcycles, boats, whatever. You can make a reservation, see what's available, amenities for pretty much any marina or boating facility, almost worldwide now.
Oh, wow, okay. Okay,
So if you wanted to chart a course and see what's available, say from here to Florida, if you were gonna take a cruise, or the Loop, which of you know what the Great Loop is?
is that where you sail from like Chicago
Right.
up and around?
Work
Okay,
your way around here, yeah. You can literally pick all your spots and get an idea what you got and what your facilities are and where you can end up that night.
okay.
So it's mostly boater oriented, so they
Oh, okay, excellent.
got a good way to find out. And then they've got an app, and it's, pretty much all user friendly. That's what it's about.
Okay, thank you.
That's good. Then we'll move on to our reports from the harbor master and the city manager.
Not much to report this time of year. Although we are working on starting our annual budgeting process with all the city budgets and departments, and so we just got training on some of the new software that we have for our accounting. So Katie and I will be working on the operating budget for the next upcoming year. Just FYI, the city's fiscal year starts July 1st and
Okay.
ends June 30th. So I did look at the marina budget for this year, and we're right on track with revenues and expenditures. We still have up until the next 5 months to go. We start bringing on summer staff in mid-May about, and open up. So we'll have some more expenditures, but they're not real heavy in the spring. And then one of the good things that happens is seasonals. When we have seasonal slips, that revenue we generally get between now and May, and so that'll take our revenues really to the positive this year. This facility has struggled with being profitable for decades. It carries a heavy debt load on the marina building when that was redone, and just weather, fuel prices, and a lot of other factors. It has struggled, and this year we're going to be profitable, substantially profitable. And in fact, I heard Katie play a voicemail message yesterday, somebody looking for a seasonal slip. So,
Nice.
and you've got how many committed so far? 5. So the target is about 10-ish. And then we also have 2 Coast Guard slips that pay a substantial amount. So I think we're in good shape.
And I haven't heard from the princess.
You haven't heard from the princess, okay? What else from the harbor master? The city manager and I have been receiving correspondence from the Corps of Engineers that they are continuing to look at and seeking additional funding to continue dredging the harbor. I think we had some discussion on it at the last meeting, but basically the dredging they did last year was carryover money from the previous year's budget. So just like any other entity, the Corps of Engineers prepares their budget goes before Congress. Congress may adjust it, raise it, lower it, then it goes before the president then has to sign it, and there's a whole process. The president's budget never got enacted the last time we met, and so they were using carryover money. So the dredging that was done last year was that carryover money, and they're trying to get budget budgeted money to finish the dredging of the city navigation channel. They are also budgeting funds, or requesting budgeted funds, to do a study pretty much from probably a third of the way up the channel from Lake Michigan is sand that they dredge, and then they start getting into silty material from almost from the city marina up to Manistee Lake. And so that silty material can't be pumped and deposited in Lake Michigan or on the shoreline. So they're looking for a piece of property that would be suitable for dredged soil disposal. So a piece of property where they can put the material in and it can de-water and it remains there.
What about out on I think it's Stronach Road? PCA was dumping their stuff out there for years. And I don't know if PCA owns it or who the owner would be, but I know for a fact, I worked at PCA, they were running sludge trucks out there 24/7.
Is that what is commonly referred to as the stink ponds?
That would, well, no, the stink ponds are where they're filtering it through. This is like the solid material that comes out. That drops in that's a building out back of PCA's factory on the lake bank. And they got a road that runs in behind there.
Okay.
Drops so much it'll flood that road and you can't get through. But I know they have a piece of property.
Yeah, so I know that they're budgeting funds to be able to study the materials, study the vacant land around here, and then looking to acquire and develop a dredged spoil disposal facility. One of the concerns that the city has is that when they did dredge last year, as you guys recall, they impacted the bank and where the net shed was and impacted our river walk. The city contracted to have that net shed pulled, and right now it's stored at the boat launch ramp. And we installed some piling to re-support that river walk and be able to open it up before the end of the season. However, the federal mandate for the dredging is the full navigation channel, so they have stated to us that they want to go back and do more, and that more could impact our facility. So we've started to have some discussions internally and with our engineers on what it would require for us to stabilize the river walk, or try to compel the Corps not to dredge to the point where it would cause us damage. So that's kind of a very fluid, ongoing thing. I know one other item that was left open the last few meetings we met was the Lakeside Social on Manistee Lake. That's where, between the Coast Guard cutter and the car ferry and where the condos are, there's it used to be an old Little Caesar's Pizza there,
Yeah.
one little building. There's a development that's proposed there. I had previously reported that the Eagle had granted the permits for shoreline protection and new docks. And then about 6 to 8 weeks ago, the Corps of Engineers issued their permits for that. And I believe there's demolition work that was planned for next week, Bill, is that correct?
I'm sorry.
The demolition was, the contractor was gonna start next week, I believe, that's what we saw.
Oh, I believe, yep, the end of the month.
So that project seems to be going, and then I would expect some stone revetments along the shoreline and new docks probably happening next summer. I don't know if there's anything else outstanding. I'll bring it up if I think of something else.
Thanks, Jeff.
Bill?
One thing is the city's been working with the DDA on a RAP grant, which is a revitalization and placemaking grant.
Right, recorder.
So this is on the agenda tonight, but I don't know if you can all see that, but
You can see it on your screen if you turn it on there. Yep.
we talked a little bit about last time. This is similar to what we submitted for our shared streets and spaces grant, kind of enhancing the area by the marina with some curbless elements, and really it's kind of an area for, you know, with the sleigh bell event, just kind of being able to close that off if needed. Also, just be kind of a more flexible space. The grant requires it to be kind of a four-season area, which we've been trying to do more with that synthetic ice. Jeff, DPW, dropped off that fire pit down there. So the West Shore Wolves gave us that synthetic ice. I think we can probably provide more signage too, to let people know that there's that activity space over there. But the marina is right here. I know we had that thoroughbred boat event. Usually that takes place in that area on River Street. Also, Hops and Props was also there previous years. This is in line with this DDA streetscape study that was done actually it was completed in February of 2024. But it's just kind of adding that, and we're doing bump outs too. So the extent of the project is Spruce to just east of Oak Street. So looking to add some of those bump outs to calm traffic. And then, you would have the option to turn south on Pine or go west over to hook into Water Street. Let's see. So we would like the Harbor Commission to provide a letter of support. This grant is a 50-50 match. So, and it's a minimum of $500,000 for the grant, or $1 million. So we're able to have, this is about a $1.4 million project. So I think it would, allow us to kind of implement a section of the streetscape. And to me, this is kind of the primary area that the DDA was looking to have events. There's kind of been some debate about closures of River Street, but this area, that's where the finale of the sleigh bell is. That's where those events that I mentioned earlier. And talking to Jeff, it's also an opportunity to get more attention to the marina, with it being right there. Whenever we have an event, making sure that the marina maybe has some flyers available. I think it's an opportunity to promote whenever we do something in that area.
It looks like it's going to add parking spots with the vertical.
So yeah, we added the diagonal because that was one of the
Yeah.
concerns, is we're
Yep.
losing parking. So we did our best to accommodate a flexible space with keeping parking there as well.
Good thing.
So, and just to add, here's got a cost estimate. Here's some of the items that were in the, so this was kind of that study that was done in, here's kind of the bump outs. They had kind of some other designs, but
There's been a lot of conversations about, that space being more friendly and improved for events like Bill said, but not included in this project, but there's been a lot of discussion about that upper level of the park at the marina, and upgrading that and being able to blend that, kind of a merge between the marina facility, the park, and the River Street and outdoor activities. And so I think this could be a first good step towards that. And then probably will lead to some other, seeking other opportunities to enhance the grounds at the marina for different, different items. We had many different meetings, but there were ideas thrown out for, where the shuffleboard courts are, maybe you reusing that in the wintertime for like curling type events. And obviously Bill mentioned that we've got that synthetic rink there, trying to use some of the spaces, and the community foundation's always looking for projects that can get people outside during the winter time, and it's tough to come up with projects like that. So and personally, I think that any activity in that area just helps us to promote and make people aware of the marina facilities. And so
a couple other points. We're working with the Tourism Authority on this, but also hoping that the Manistee bus, the trolley, could have a stop there. And that's kind of a cool opportunity to have people who use the transient wells come up there, see the rest of Manistee. Also tonight on the agenda is SPLCA, the Sable Point Lighthouse Association. They're looking to manage our lighthouse, provide tourism there. So that's another opportunity to kind of have, if we were to have kind of the trolley stop there, they can go check out the lighthouse, come back. So just people who, enjoy boating, enjoy the lighthouses, can also explore Manistee is the idea.
When do they anticipate starting on that lighthouse?
So they're looking to have limited operations this year,
Oh, nice.
next year full operation, and then be in full swing for 2027, which is the 100-year anniversary of that lighthouse.
Nice.
Yeah, and our meetings with them, they would love to be able to assist the city in getting grant funds and matching funds to do some interior renovations so that so people can actually climb the different levels and really be, explore that lighthouse. They had previously told city council that this is one of the only lighthouses, because they operate 4 or 5 of them right now.
I think, yeah, 5 or 6.
Yeah, and this is one of the only ones that has really easy access for buses, because we've got the large cul-de-sac in the parking lot, and so some of their locations are pretty remote, and they'd love to take bus tours invite bus tours to come in, and they get calls, but they said this one could be a pretty good hotspot. They want to sell like memorabilia and, the little lighthouse stickers that you can get when you're doing the tours and stuff, so. Seems like a pretty neat operation.
How is handicap access in that area? Is it good that we have right now? Or?
Yeah, we have handicap parking in the parking lot adjacent to the channel, and then the walkway is handicap accessible out to the pier. The only challenge is blowing sand. And there's actually this is kind of a positive thing. There's a gentleman that drives here a couple hours almost every day to fish, and he's in a wheelchair, and he'll call us if there's any kind of sand, and we're right out there to clean it, and we check it every day, but he's always lets us know. But other than that, yeah, it's accessible all the way out to the end of the pier. Inside the lighthouse is currently not, and I'm not sure what the plan is there, but.
It was a good segue to the lighthouse, but I want to finalize with this up. We'd probably like a motion to support the letter of support from the Harbor Commission.
We do have a letter of support ready, so if you guys want to support it, then
Oh, yeah.
we just need a
I'll
motion.
make that motion.
And I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And as Jeff stated, I think they're looking to do a gift shop, whether that's inside that very limited space in the lighthouse or if it's going to be a kiosk outside. They're still figuring that part out. All right, that concludes my report. Thank you.
So, Bill, when you had your first slide up there, you reminded me of something I missed, is the Riverwalk upgrades that we've been talking about for several years. City
yes.
Council has approved them. Basically, we bid this thing out several different times. We weren't getting bids or good bids. So we had the engineers break it into multiple trades, and then we were able to get multiple bids on each of the trades, and working with doing some value engineering, and then also the Community Foundation contributed a substantial additional sum of money. We got it into the fundable range. So council has awarded the contracts. Those have been sent off to the federal EDA, and they've approved those contracts with the changes that we submitted and the timeframes. And our first pre-construction meeting with the site work trade contractor is this Thursday, and after that meeting, they're hoping that they will begin work next week, actually.
Oh, wow.
Now, that's subject to some other approvals that the feds have, but I would say within, several weeks, there'll be some work starting down there, which is very positive. What, on this slide that Bill put up, and what reminded me is, east of the marina building is the drive, and then we've got kind of those 2 half-moon shaped garden areas, and in between there, will be a handicap accessible walkway that'll go down to the marina slip level. So that'll be something new. And then there's a few other improvements along the Riverwalk, but most of it is upgrading some landscaping, upgrading light fixtures, the luminaires, and then replacing the deck boards with new treated lumber. So should be a nice refreshing project this summer. And then on the other side of the river, the city's been working on getting a grant from the DNR trust fund for about 5 years, and we're successful in that. We're awarded a grant, and the plans are about 90% complete. So we expect to have that out for bids in the next probably month, and then hoping to see construction this summer on that as well. So that's kind of a full redo of the walkways, adding a barrier-free, new fishing piers. The ones that are there are structurally deficient, and some new walls. My staff has gone in and removed a lot of the overgrown landscaping last month, and then there'll be some new fresh plantings and hopefully some lighting and stuff, so.
Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, I'm glad we have to actually start the project by March 5th, and we're under the gun, but we're glad it was all able to come together because we finally had some actionable bids, so.
Good.
So positive things.
What's gonna happen with the little net house? Is that gonna get moved to a permanent location, or?
It's there right now, and we'd have to submit for a permit to put it back on the Riverwalk.
Yeah.
And that'd be subject to Army Corps approval. I don't know that they'd approve it, but,
Yeah.
so we kind of kept it near that Origins Walk,
Sure.
but, yeah, so we would like to put it back, but as Jeff mentioned earlier, the future dredging, and then we don't want to risk any further damage to it.
Yeah, we're talking a substantial amount of money to
Replace.
make sure that the
Reset.
Riverwalk can withstand the federal dredging limits. Essentially, we don't know the exact history because it was all prior to our times, but there seemed to be kind of a gentleman's agreement between the city and the Corps that the Corps would not maintain that area to the full width. And the current staff wasn't aware of that, just like this staff wasn't really that privy to it. And so they just look at the federal law says 120 foot wide and negative 25 low water and keep it going. And one thing that they've said is for decades they've never had the funding to be able to do it anyway. So they just maintained as much as they could to keep the ship traffic going. We've asked them to kind of go back to that old way, and if 80 foot's sufficient, but they said they have to talk with the shipping companies and get their input. But anyway, the way that the Riverwalk is built in that area, the posts are wood posts. They're not true pilings, they're just long posts. We're likely kind of jetted into the sandy bottom. The penetration's less than 10 feet. And when you look at dredging the full width and then the angle of repose where the sand would slough in, it's below the bottom of where that Riverwalk posts are. So what we did as a temporary repair last year is we drove 40-foot steel piles in, which can resist that dredging and support it. But the way the Riverwalk is designed is you have 5-foot spacing on the wood posts. For us to put steel posts every 5 foot is ridiculous. We could put them 20 foot and rebuild a new Riverwalk and save money. So that's kind of where we're at, is fixing it and stabilizing as it is cost prohibitive. Sure. We'd probably rebuild and end up with a new structure for cheaper money, but we'd have to permit that. We'd have to come up with the funding for that. And so money's just not sitting in a pot.
Yeah, sure.
So we're kind of trying to figure out what the Corps' move is going to be, and then we need to come up with kind of a short to long-term solution and just kind of monitor that and try to stay ahead of it. So, and then, like Bill said with the net shed, we'd have to set that on 40-foot piles, but where do you put it, and where's the Riverwalk going to be, where is it now, and so there's a lot to figure out.
All subject to, yeah. That concludes that. We go to new business, which would be annual review of the bylaws. We just basically looked them over, see if there anything needs changing, or
I didn't see any changes that I thought were required.
We just need a motion to approve it then, or? is it
Approve as presented, yep.
Approve as presented? A motion to approve as presented the bylaws as they are sitting.
I will second that.
Did you make that motion, George?
No, I was asking for some.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were making the motion.
Then I'll make the motion to approve the bylaws as presented.
Okay,
And then I will go ahead and second that.
all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Then annual review of a strategic plan, 2016 to 2025. Would the date 2025 get pushed ahead, or we just leave it till the end of this year and then?
Right, we just
Move
review it
forward.
so we just to continue with the strategic plan as presented through the 2025 season or year.
Just some of the wording, I would think maybe, like down where what we are proud of, it's really not a new marina facility anymore, it's maybe upgraded or improved, or change that, or enhanced marina facility.
Enhanced. Okay,
And what are some of the issues that the marina faces? We really don't have a deficit. It's kind of,
Well, we do.
we still, oh,
Yeah, so even with us being profitable this year, that includes a allocation from the general fund to the marina fund to cover part of the debt expense, which I think Mr. Bradford showed us yesterday. Do you remember? It was, I think it's 2 years out of payments left.
yeah, I think it was, right, mhm.
I think it's 2 years. So, in 2 years, that'll be gone, and that helps us out tremendously.
is it still 40,000? Do we want to change that number, just so if somebody looks at it, it's kind of like you're advertising your deficit?
It is about, well, it has been 40,000. We don't have year-end numbers, obviously, because that'll be June 30, and by the time we get the audited numbers, it'll be, 8 months from now. So I think that's still a fair statement, but I don't think it's gonna need to stay in there for or when we do this next year.
Right.
Is your issue more about putting the dollar amount? Because you could say they're basically debt service every year till that's paid off.
Mm-hmm.
But there's probably another way to say it if you wanted to
That's a good
do it
point.
that way.
Yeah. Nearing the end of our debt service obligations
Annual
or
debt
something like
service,
that.
yep.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So because it's still an issue, we would say annual
Yep, annual debt service.
debt service, okay.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Okay.
I don't know if this needs to be put in there or anything, but create or explore the shore canoe launch site. I know we've been talking about that, and the rentals didn't go last year. Is that still in the works potentially?
Yes. The Parks Commission's looking at that, and it will likely be discussed and contemplated as part of our budgeting sessions. Yep.
And maybe, so they know where we're spending our money, marketing to the loopers through the AGCLA, and then transient boaters with the DACWA marketing plan or marketing company. I don't know if that's necessary or just to get an idea of what's going on.
Yeah, I think we're doing that, so I think that'd be fair to add that.
Yeah.
Say again.
Marketing to the loopers with the AGCLA, is it?
Okay.
And
Look.
transient boaters with the DACWA Advertising and Marketing Agency.
Okay.
And since our goal was to make it profitable, now we are profitable. I guess we need to figure out,
Can I go back to the opportunities?
yeah,
Just pointing out the third bullet from the bottom really aligns with the letter of support we approved earlier,
oh, okay, yeah,
to create opportunities to improve efforts to create a meaningful interaction with the downtown area.
yep.
I wish I'd have saw that before, but just kind of reaffirms that that was the right thing for us to do. Yeah, our goal could be to continue to make the harbor profitable.
Keep, yeah, that's, because we're now profitable, so now continue to keep it profitable.
Yeah, and we don't have the numbers before us, but we also have been breaking our revenue,
Goals, so to speak.
well, breaking our revenue records
Records.
at the boat launch. That's been very good. And we do have, every year we put in our capital plan is to replace the pay station at First Street. And every year we evaluate that with the staff that services it. And we've been able to replace components as we need to. At some point, that's not gonna happen, and we can't change out the paper tray or the coins changer. And so I think there's gonna be some things that we're gonna need to reinvest in. Another thing that is becoming higher on my goal list is repaving of the parking lot down at First Street Beach. That was built and for the boat launch specifically. Living here, you obviously know it gets used for all kinds of different activities. But in August, September, it is substantially used for boat launch traffic. That pavement is old. It's got to be 50 years old, and it's pretty. So through all that use and the pavement getting old, it's starting to pothole. The weeds are growing up through those potholes and cracks, and we will likely be able to get some funding through waterways through a grant, but their grants aren't that big anymore. So, we're gonna have to start planning, and I've put it in our capital improvement plan, but that's gonna be a big project that's gonna need to happen. The city's also been working for over a year on beach master plans for Fifth Avenue Beach, First Street Beach, Man-Made Lake, and then our North Beach access. And the steering committee just received some draft drawings from the landscape architects yesterday, and are gonna be adjusting those before we start presenting those out publicly. But there are some recommendations to that parking lot on, how to change the flow and appearance and so forth. And we have made some improvements when we did the beach loop 2 years ago. We added an entrance that's opposite from the Lions area. And then when the hotel was constructed, we were able to get them to pay for an entrance onto First Street. So it provides more than just the two that are right at the fish cleaning station.
That's a great move, both of them.
Sorry, I kind of got off
No,
on a
that's
tangent
good.
there, but
It gives me other things I've been thinking of too. Well, like with the law, fish cleaning, is that same company gonna be,
yeah, the city manager and I have been talking about that.
cause he got kinda busy last year. If he could
100%, we are not gonna allow him to process the fish
Over where he was.
within the city where he was bringing it from all the fish cleaning stations.
Right.
Like, that can never happen, but he's also was somewhat unreliable, and so we're
yeah.
trying to look into any kind of different options that we have. I just got a quote so the fish cleaning station, as it operates, you clean your fish, you leave your fish offal or the carcass behind. That's very challenging to dispose of. So the current operation is we pay a contractor who comes and removes that material, sprays and cleans everything down, and then they sell that to at one point a cannery, at one point pet food, at one point fertilizer, whatever. Last year it was a very untypical year, And all the fish cleaning stations in West Michigan were overwhelmed with the volume of fish that were coming in. And he wasn't really able to keep up with it to our satisfaction. But when we look at alternatives, if you landfill it, that's a challenge of transport, there's cost to do that. The state will allow us to bury it, but you've gotta have the right land and you've gotta register the land for that, and so there's just different things that we're exploring.
Does the DNR have any connections or anything, since it seems to be a waste of a pretty good resource? You would think they'd wanna do something with it.
One of the,
Recycle it or.
yeah, one of the things on my list was to reach out to Scott Heinzelman. Laura Heinzelman, who's the head of the foundation, her husband is a fishery biologist with the DNR, and so I was gonna see if, what do they do at the weir with all their stuff, and I know a lot of the salmon and trout and stuff go to a processing facility, and then it gets used for, in the prison food system, but what do they do with the waste?
I read a thing, now this brings, or sparks my mind. They were using just about everything and anything from that fish, and they learned from either Greenland or Finland, the skin, the bones, you name it. And it was some company, I think it was up in Leilanu Peninsula, that fishery company, the one that's left up there.
Sounds like a great business for you to get into while you're retired.
If you could send that to us, George.
You go make $1 million.
I'll transport it, that's about as far as I go.
But no, if you are aware of any ideas
I will look into
or
that and
solutions,
see
and
where because they were using everything in the fish. It was unbelievable. And I believe it was that fishery up in, it's one of the last ones up here. And one of the daughters took a trip, she went to school in Greenland, I think it was, Finland somewhere, and they learned about it and how they're disposing of it. I'll see if I can do more research on that. May help, I don't know.
Thank you.
Have we looked into grinding?
we have, yep. I worked for an engineering firm before I worked for the city, and I was the city's engineer for a number of years, and we had done a study and looked at grinding. There's a couple issues, there's two major issues with grinding. The first one is that when you grind it, the solids can't be put into the sewer system. So you have to contain them, and you have to have them pumped and disposed of. And they go septic so fast, that smell is it's intense. And so I tried a station that we designed at Harbor Village. After the first season, they were like, no way, the septic haulers wouldn't touch it anymore. Sangs had the same type of system, and their haulers wouldn't haul it anymore. And even if the haulers would haul it, then where they land apply wouldn't accept it anymore. The other thing is the liquid that comes off of that, and when you grind it into a slurry, you get more material into the discharge, and that creates a huge biological oxygen demand. As it wants to break down, it needs oxygen. And so that prevents a very heavy load on the treatment plant and can actually crash a plant and kill all the bacteria in the plant. And then the other side thing is fish contain mercury, and our treatment plant is limited to 3 nanograms per liter, like on an annual basis. That's like 3 seconds in a million years. Like, if you screwed up for 3 seconds in a million years, you're in trouble. And so that's how close the state monitors what we discharge. And so most plants that have a National Pollution Elimination Discharge Permit, NPDES, they keep that waste out of the stream for that reason.
Sure. Thanks, Bill.
So, I mean, I've put way too much into this, but it's a tremendous resource we have, but that end product is kind of a burden.
And as a matter of information, the next year's season is, as far as numbers of fish processed, caught, and everything, is to be at least at the level it was this year.
That's good for fishermen, but
Yeah. Yeah, then you
So,
can leave
so the other thing, when that fish cleaning station was built, And my firm designed that actually, but we designed it so that it had a cooler or a freezer. So that's on the south side of that building, but the same space is on the north side. It just isn't, there's not a cooler there, but it was designed to have two if needed. So I got a quote from our mechanical contractor to put in that second one. I think it was $43,000. But if we had enough space to store it, then like the current contractor may be able to then be able to fall a little bit behind before it hurts us, right? Or we could get it to more of a solid state where we could then transport it without leaking it through town and then landfill it. Because we had a meeting with the Republic last week about that. So, it's a big issue we gotta fix.
What about, I've seen this firsthand, charter boats from different areas coming and bringing their stuff and putting it in the freezer there. Is that, are the charter boats permitted to do that, or?
Yeah, yep. Every fish cleaning station in the town brings their waste here.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably over 700 tons of fish waste. It's a lot. So, and we're not alone. Frankfurt, Alberta, Arcadia, Onekama, there's 5 in Ludington, Pentwater, all use the same contractor. And then he goes up on the river systems and does all the state facilities there. So, what happened last year is, and not to get too far into the rabbit hole on this, but they basically would collect from each of those stations, put them on a truck, bring them to one central location, which ended up being, we allowed them to come to Manistee and do it in the city, and then we got a discount on his services. But then they would load them into these boxes, they'd be loaded onto a freezer semi, they would be taken to the facility, he'd get paid for it, they would be reused into whatever product. That worked fine. Apparently there were metal and fish hooks that went through the first truckload this year, and the plant said, you cannot bring us any more contaminated material with metal, so we want you to pre-screen it, and if you don't pre-screen it and something comes through, you're done. That's it, because we don't want to damage our equipment. So when he tried to then start pre-screening it, it was already into the heart of the fishing season, and there was so much coming in, not only could he not process it and load it and get it out, he also had 2/3 of a semi already full and froze, and he didn't know what to do with that. So we tried to put it outside to thaw it and then process it, and got behind and created a terrible mess. And so I'm also going to reach out to him and see if he's done anything to his process, but we don't want it happening in the community anymore. Back to the goals.
Oh, goals, yes. Back to the goals. Keep us profitable. There we go. I think. Pretty much everything else is explanatory. Nothing. If anyone else sees anything.
I think everything else is kind of in line with what we're doing. So we've made a couple proposed changes. You've got those, Kelly?
Yep, I do.
I would make a motion that we approve the strategic plan with the recommended changes.
Okay.
I'll second.
And we're all in favor?
Aye.
We'll look at the roster and make sure everybody's information is correct for contact and
And we don't really need a motion on that, you just correct it with me and we'll be
double check
good
it, yeah.
if it's wrong.
Mine looks good.
I have a correction I need to make on mine.
Okay.
My phone number is 0443.
Okay. Perfect.
Everybody else good? New business, I put a couple things that I thought, since we have our enhanced marina facility, a plan, or maybe it could go into the strategic plan for maintenance and upkeep, just to keep it nice and fresh, and so it's always looking good. And then potential events for 2025, or specials, or anything that we can look into for the 2025 boating season. I don't know if we want to think about that and bring them back. April's our next meeting.
Yep.
If anybody comes up with
15th.
ideas, I don't know what, if there's anything we're going to coordinate. Does the thoroughbred get with us from year to year?
I believe so, I haven't heard from them.
No?
Last year, they reached out to Katie, but then, if you remember, there were some hiccups. They didn't reserve enough
Right.
spaces, so we've requested that they contact Katie and kind of stay more on top of that.
And then there's that sailing race. Are they coming back?
Graham, the
Yeah.
Catamaran Racing Association of Michigan,
Looked like they had.
they've come back annually. Have you
They
seen
called
anything?
me to make sure that weekend there was nothing going on. They haven't, I don't think they've done a special request form yet, but they have called and verified the weekend. I don't remember what it was, but
I know the city was talking about trying to get more lead time on all these special events, because a lot of people were waiting till the last minute.
well, the 90 days is required.
Days,
So
okay.
we are holding people to that, starting with the new year, so yes.
Yeah.
We,
Sooner the
this morning, we had a staff meeting, and then Kelly keeps a, like an upcoming agenda list, so topics that we plan to be on the council agendas, and I noticed the next couple meetings, there's a lot of those summer events that we expect to be submitted,
Yeah.
doesn't mean they all will
Right,
be.
that's when they
but-
typically come in, is around
Yeah.
those dates.
So I think to your point, by April, we'll have a good share of those that have already been planned, and,
The big one was the Thoroughbred Boat Show, I think, for the marina, wasn't it? That was pretty much the only real, yeah. And then we had the open house with that.
So you want that on the next meeting agenda, that people bring ideas? Is that what you're, okay?
So, yeah, if anyone comes up with anything, we can coordinate it with anything else, maybe a block party at TJ's or something, or, I think it was that weekend too, with the Thoroughbred and the block party, potentially. That was in September?
which one?
TJ's had the block party, we had the
They had two.
Thoroughbred Boat Show.
July and September?
Yeah, we had the Thoroughbred Boat Show.
I think
and
it
then
might have been all on
marina
the
was
same
open
weekend. Yeah.
for visitors.
And then Kelly, who talked today about the car shows that the Outsider wanted to do? Was that Josh?
They,
Andrew,
Andrew. So Andrew Stafford from the Chambers, and he's kind of the lead DDA person now. He had some conversations with the owner of the Outsider that they wanted to do, I thought he said
7, I think.
7 different car show events, and do some street closures in that area. And like I said earlier, I just think more activity down there
absolutely.
just helps us coexist and promote.
Right now, it's not real organized, but one of the guys I met out at the airport's got an old car, and he says, yeah, you ever want to go down there on a Wednesday night, I think it is? There's 2, 3, 5 cars at any time, and if, they get it going as a semi-organized event and get it on the radio, I'm sure you get a bunch of cars.
That's sort of what I think Andrew was talking about, is that they want to be more organized with it this year.
I think we're moving forward well for 2025 then. Any public comments? No one's come in yet. And any more comments from our harbor commissioners?
I have an issue that I noticed has become an even bigger issue with the amount of handicap parking spaces available at the First Street launch ramp. It seems to be a race to get a parking spot. you know, if you want to have a handicap parking spot, you better be there by no later than 5 AM. And then after that fills up, it's, you know, I guess buyer beware or whatever, you know. And I was wondering if we might open up the possibility of additional parking spaces. I know it's hard to find them, but maybe even to the point of allowing, like when we have overflow on the 4th of July, cars parking on the grass, cars and trailers.
Are you talking about down at the launch
Down
itself?
on the flat portion of it. The big thing is climbing the hill. You know, take your car up and park it, come down, but you gotta go back up there at some point. And, it's an issue that's maybe we need to be looking at.
That certainly is one reason to not let that shed stay exactly where it's at, because it's in spaces right now.
The length of the parking lot, east to west, is very adequate, you know. It's actually longer than it needs to be. But I don't know how we would be able to improve using that information, you know, to make additional parking spots.
Do you think there'd be enough room if, on the south side of that, if we allowed east to west? I mean, we could probably get 4 or 5 in there. If that, if that launch ramp is come in and out. Right now, there's a handicap bar here, and then there's one in here. But if we stripe like along here, do you think there's enough depth? Probably with the water down, there probably is right now.
Yeah, if we left a spot open for the longer boats to be
Okay.
able to pull up,
Yep.
typically this is plenty. In fact,
A lot of people.
a lot of people are staging
Yeah.
in this area anyway.
Yeah.
So, yes, I agree with that. Usually the larger boats tend to use this portion of the ramp. As I'm pointing out on here, it would be the western side of the ramp. And it would be kind of important, I think, to kind of leave that open up in there, anticipating that that is what's gonna happen. It seems that at the launch ramp on the southern side, there's more of an incline, or something that makes it easier to get a big boat off from a trailer there. I was thinking if we could utilize this area up here a little bit and make spots here, but then we've got to worry about the length of the vehicles exceeding where we want them to be there.
I'll take a look at that. I'll work on that. Because we may be able to just gravel something in there. But I'll take a look at that.
Can we get an additional spot down here where those rocks and the sand, it appears that isn't, I don't think that's something that's needed that much for stabilization. We could get an initial one in there.
Yeah, I'll look at the whole thing to see where we could optimize, and it could be where we, add 2, and then if we need more, we can add 2 more, and just kind of incrementally and do it in-house where we don't have to spend a tremendous amount of money.
What is the city's position as far as ticketing is concerned when people pull up into this grass area?
When they park in the grass, they get a ticket.
Even if the 4th of July traffic has the lot filled?
I can't tell you that 100%. I mean, the police use discretion, but we do ask them to go down there and enforce those.
And I've seen
fees,
it.
yeah.
And I
And the
appreciate
dredge
that.
contractors all got tickets when they parked in the grass
Oh, cool.
on their first day. They weren't happy, but
okay, that's nothing really that we can control, but.
yeah, I'm happy to look at that.
information. Okay.
That's a good winter project for me.
You don't have enough?
Bring it on. Well, I mean, that's, to me, that's, if I can do it internally, that's stuff I'll just do internally. If I've got a budget money for it, it's the perfect time to look into it.
True.
And there's 50 things that we are looking at right now, so, yeah, and honestly, I'm not there at that time in the morning, so those are things,
It's-
I'm,
Those
kind
things
of
are
input is wonderful.
premium.
Yeah.
I mean, those spots are. Also, I've received some complaints about the individual that is in that white van camping there
Sure,
around the clock.
yep.
Is he got some special consideration, or?
I don't think he camps there overnight because I'm there regularly daily and he's usually gone.
He has been.
He's there?
He has been ticketed for infractions, and he's gone to court for those infractions, and he is well aware of what the limitations in the law and local ordinances are, and tends to operate just outside of them.
You just do it till you get caught again.
You know, I, don't quote me, but if the ordinance says that you can park in a public parking lot no more than 24 hours, he moves every 22 hours. And when he violates for various things, the police have written him several tickets.
Okay.
But pretty much, he operates within his public rights, and when he doesn't, then the police have addressed it.
Okay.
And then you're not the first person to bring it up to me. I was nearly assaulted, 2 months ago in Katie's office over it. Right?
I'm sorry.
I said I was nearly assaulted in your office over the gentleman in the white van at the beaches a couple months ago. Yeah. This dude was mad.
What does
He
he
took
do?
it out on me.
Yeah, some people think he stays the night, and we hear different sides to it.
Yeah, he questioned,
But he's
my
not been there all summer.
authority to park in one of those handicap spaces one time. And he's parked there, you know, and I wanted so much to lay into him. All he had to do was take his little flashlight and walk around the back of my van and see that I had a handicap sticker. And I'd like to dwell on some more information about him, but if you're down there and he's getting ready to launch his boat, he'll put his boat in, and then he chooses the rest of his time to walk his dog around down there. And I've never once seen a bag in his hand to take care of the excrements from the dog. And I don't know, to me, you know, he's abusing the launching procedures by not moving his boat. And additionally, when he launches his boat, unlike other people, he T-bones it at the end of the dock. So he's taken 2 launching positions while he's walking his dog. So, okay, I'm done with that. Take it off the record. I don't want him attacking me.
It is. My only comment or question would be rack cards, do we have any more? Since we know they work a bit, because I'm going to Chicago at the end of February, and one of my guys was asking, they actually start launching boats as soon as the ice is gone, come April 1st, and they can start leaving them there. They officially open May 1st. So I can get some of them down there, and my buddy with his rental fleet.
Do you know if you have any in
I
stock?
have, I think, a small,
Asking about
So
them,
let's
yeah.
get some more printed, and then George can come pick some up.
Because I know we at least got one or a few referrals from Chicago, so can't hurt to keep it, the interest in mind there.
Ooh, I did think of something. Late last fall, we had a fire in the electrical system along the Riverwalk between the Elks and the bridge. It was a shorted wire in a box, working with Top Line to come up with a solution. The solution is to rewire some of that stuff, but the concern from Top Line, and they're kind of exploring it, is bringing it up to current code, which is going to be $50,000 to $100,000 of work just to upgrade that. So, working with them on that right now too. But,
To be continued.
yeah, I don't have
Yep.
anything else.
I think that's about it. I'm gonna look into that fish cuts thing. See if I can put anything there for maybe a possible helpful solution.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. I do appreciate it, and I look forward to being really involved.
So I'll extend an invitation. I'm also the Public Works Director, so the phone number's on there. You're welcome to call me with questions anytime,
Thank you, sir.
or, you know, anything that you've
Sure.
got.
Anyone else
I'd make a motion to adjourn.
we can do?
All right.
Are you going to send, oh, I was gonna say, is this the only time if we ever wanna add anything to the strategic review, this is it? Or the strategic plan this time of year, or this meeting?
This is just the one where
We review it,
so
yeah.
no, you can always.
You can always amend it.
Amend it, yeah.
This is the,
Sign
letter,
it.
I'm gonna,
Mhm.
ready to go.
You should have went down and started the truck for us.
I know.
What's with that?
Mine.
It's George's.